To the Mom and Sons Yucca Root podcast. I'm Billy.
I'm Billy's mom.
And today we just wanted to talk a little bit about health and fitness and
How to get your kids motivated to follow a healthy diet and be athletic and whatever else. Not athletic, but exercise.
Keeping it healthy, yeah.
Yeah.
When I just think of health and fitness in general, I think back to the past on how we used to do things. We would always have, fast.
Well, we had, I was a single mom, so I think it was on the go. It was whatever was quick. It was whatever was easy, which, financially is bad and health food wise is bad. But when you're just going, and honestly, looking back on that, I think if I had just stopped and meal prepped and done things differently in that respect, it would have been better because I could have spent less money and we would be healthier. But in the moment, you're just going.
Yeah.
And, when I was younger, I was a fairly athletic kid and played a lot of sports. I played soccer especially, but I did everything. I swam, I did boxing, I did a variety of stuff. I really enjoyed sports. And when Billy was younger, we tried to get him try to find a sport that he liked.
Yeah.
And but I kind of lost track of the importance of exercise and the way that it makes you feel. And I think that the old saying that your kids will do what you do, which God help you if you do, but is very true in the way that if you're eating healthy things, they're going to know how to prepare healthy foods. They will know what is healthy, because that was my problem for a long time. I was like, I don't know what to eat that's healthy. Yeah. And I think also they'll see the importance of exercise and they'll grow up with it and see how it makes them feel. So looking at those things, there's a lot that I would have done differently in that way, but I think just being the example and meal prepping, I think that's huge when you're a parent, because you're always short on time and the easiest thing to do is stop and get something. But really, you could take a whole Sunday and meal prep, and you don't even have to go crazy. I mean, you might just, it's too much tonight, let's do eggs, you could have breakfast for dinner. I mean, and that's sort of what I've learned, is it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It doesn't have to be, it just has to be healthy and not in a box and not through a drive-through,
Yeah, and that's one thing, actually, even today I was thinking about. When you are prepping and cooking your own food, you will always have those leftovers. You'll have, like, we just made that turkey, and today I ate turkey instead of us going to get something else, like going to pick up fast food or something like that. When we made the roast, I had some roast yesterday, and it's just when you're prepping your own food and you buy the groceries, sure, it'll seem more...
When it's there, you'll eat it.
Yeah, and some things, when you're buying groceries, are going to be more expensive, but you would rather have 3 meals out of one preparation than going and constantly going out and buying food that you don't even enjoy, like, it's just, you're eating it just to eat it. And
I will say that, side note, sort of off topic, I can appreciate picky eaters. When Billy was younger, he ate everything. I never had problems. Billy's brother doesn't eat anything. First of all, I thought he was never going to get off of baby food. He was on that forever.
Yeah.
And then now he's very limited. It's really like chicken nuggets and waffles and some other things, and fruit. He does like fruit. That's a good one. But it's like, it's really hard as a parent, because you're trying to, I'm hopeful that for him, when he gets older, he's 3, that will change and he will see the ways and things like that. But I can appreciate that as we're telling you this, your kid's your kid, and when they're really little, they're going to not follow in, and perhaps, so do the best you can. And for us, if we give him something he doesn't like, he's going to vomit.
Oh, for sure.
So we try not to give him things he doesn't like. But yeah, so sorry, continue on, but...
Well, that also brought up a few good points. When I was younger, there was that point that for a few months that I only ate vegetables.
Yeah.
And that, just thinking about that, that's what made me think that. And even stuff that my little brother does like, some things he just doesn't know how to eat. And I think one of the biggest examples of that is caramel. The other day I gave him a Rolo and he did not know how to eat it and he just spat it out, but he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's just, he didn't know how to eat it, and
it's learning.
Yeah, it's just going through those steps of learning it.
But yeah, so I think that as far as nutrition goes, following the basics, and I think for me it's really just don't get a box, don't have any processed food, don't go through a drive-through, and make it yourself, and you're gonna fall off track, but try to get back on it.
Yeah, well, and the days that you are off track, it's good to have a sport that you're playing too. It's not, I would say like 75% of it would be a healthy diet, but there's also being body healthy.
80% is diet.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's still, when you look in the mirror, you can be building muscle and eating healthy at the same time. If you want to have those toned biceps or something like that, that's also a good way to burn off calories, and you'll feel good afterwards.
Yeah, I think, Billy, so going back to sports and athletics, we try. No, I did go for walks and things like that, but I would not say it was a regular thing or anything. And Billy usually didn't want to go, and I didn't force him. And so, as he got older, and we tried a bunch of sports, and he just didn't like it. It's not that he didn't like them, but nothing really stuck where he really enjoyed. Some of them it was a hard no.
Yeah.
But some of them it was like he liked them, but his heart wasn't in it. And then we found swim. And he loves swim.
That was one of the few sports that I thought going into it I would have been like, nope, not a big fan of it at all. Didn't like it, but I think that I always enjoyed being in the water. I always enjoyed being in the pool and stuff like that. And now getting the exercise while being in the pool, that also helps a lot.
Yeah, he burns it's like 1,000 calories every time he goes to a practice. It's crazy.
Which shouldn't be an excuse for you to eat more.
Right. Well, and so I have tried to talk to Billy about that before, and so it's a lot what they see you do. It's a lot what you push, and then there's some of it's having conversations. And I've told Billy that a lot of my problem growing up was when I did sports, I could eat more.
Yeah.
And then when I didn't do sports, I couldn't eat more, but your eating generally stays the same.
Yeah.
So it's hard to break those habits. That's why you want to really try to eat the same thing all the time, and then you'll have your off days, but you get back on track. Because I've told him that, it's hard to get back on the wagon. So you want to eat the same. You might be able to splurge more when you're doing more athletics, but generally try to eat the same so it's not so hard. And when you don't do it, you don't put on a whole bunch of weight.
Well, and that's a big thing too is portion control, because based on, you could have a very healthy meal, but if it's, especially for me, it's the healthy carbs that I need as a swimmer. So I could have like 3 baked potatoes or something like that.
Sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes, yeah. And that would be terrible for me because it's not the right
sweet potatoes are
portion.
Good. Sorry.
Right, but if you have too many, if you have a huge portion of it, it's not going to do any difference than if you're eating, cake or something like that. It's gonna affect you the same in the long run. So it's just portioning it out.
Everything in moderation.
Yeah, I've definitely one of the hardest things for me was snacking. I think that's with both of us too. Is that if we get bored, we start snacking.
I was just thinking about that last night because I happened to see in the trash there was the chip wrapper and did you eat some chips last night?
Yeah, I did eat some chips.
So I was maybe laughing because I thought, oh my God, he is totally my son because I can do good all day long. Go, and I'm moving. And the minute I stop, I'm either tired or I'm hungry.
Yeah.
And usually it's tired, but
yeah.
So in the evenings when I'm finally trying to settle down and talk to Dakota and things like that, like now all of a sudden I just want a snack because I'm like bored and I'm not, I'm not moving and
you're not distracted.
Yeah. So
that's the big thing.
I think he's the same way, that we just kind of, especially if we're sitting there. So if
Yeah.
you're playing video games,
Yeah.
or if I'm sitting there talking, like I want to just crunch on something, and it's the worst, and it's the worst at night.
Yeah, we're not even that hungry.
It's never that I'm hungry.
Never hungry.
Yeah.
It's just that you're trying to keep your hands busy, or you're just trying to keep yourself busy because you've been going all day. And I'll be sitting there playing video games, and I'll go to use the bathroom, and I'll think, well, I could eat something, and then I end up eating a whole bag of chips. I finished that off last night, and it's just, that's been the hardest thing for me, especially last year during full force COVID, this kind of...
Yeah, so I was going to go into that, like, I had lost a bunch of weight, but I actually lost it all without any exercise.
Yeah.
So when quarantine started, I, started walking more, and then when his swim wasn't going on, I knew I had to do something for him.
Yeah.
So that's when we started coming down in the basement, and we, alternate the treadmill and things like that. And it was good because he was my motivation and I was his motivation. And I feel like we got, seeing each other do it pushed us more. Yeah. And so I think that's, it doesn't have to be quarantine. I think that's any time with your kids. You make it's fun. It's you two are doing it. You can make it a challenge. But so then we got bored with that stuff, and then we got the Beachbody app, and we started doing different videos on there, and we had storylines for all the people that we worked out with, and it made it fun, and then that was our time. And at one point, Billy kind of didn't want to work out as much, and I just always told him, like, I'm not making you do this, but you're going to be in a world of hurt when life goes back to normal and you're overweight and uncomfortable. So
yeah, and I'll be honest, during quarantine, I gained 30 pounds. It was insane looking on that scale and seeing that I was over 200. That was I've never been over 200 before quarantine. And that really hit me hard. But at the same time, it was that kind of shock that I really need to get back into this. And there's just going to be those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, how did this happen? Where did all this weight come from? And so, especially after that, even now, I'm still thinking about it. I'm just trying to snack less and less. And I've bumped up in my club swim, and that's definitely helped, especially it's just the different levels of working out I felt like had really changed. High school swim, for sure. Any high school sport, I feel like, goes a lot harder and pushes you a little bit more. And that really helped me lose weight fresh out of quarantine. I was really feeling self-conscious about myself and stuff like that. And just, working out, it feels good. Getting that after-workout high. That's what
and for me, like, there's days where I don't really want to work out, but I know I'm going to feel better.
Yeah.
And this has never been words that have come out of my mouth before this year, right?
Yeah, for sure. Same here.
So it's kind of like, I know how I feel. I know it makes me, I feel less stress. And if I have a lot of stress going on, you think, oh, I'm not going to add that stress. No, add that stress, because that's actually going to make you less stressed, clears your mind. And, one of the things I keep thinking is, what am I going to do when I go back to work full time? And I'm not able to exercise in the basement like I was. Well, I'll have to get up earlier, figure out a way, because I just don't want to stop this.
Yeah.
And, so I think that's it. I think, and incorporating it with your kids, and, I don't know that there's necessarily a way to make it fun, which was the question posed to us. Other than, I think with exercise, you can definitely make that fun. You can make it a family fun day, and you can make it a competition or not, and you can play family sports. You could go for walks in the evenings. You can go, like, exercise, definitely. There's easy ways to do it. Yeah. Mandatory hour outside every day. I don't know what that looks like, and you do it as a family, and that's fun. That gives the kids something to look forward to. I think eating's just... It's always going to be one of those things where I think it's easier if you eat right and you are that role model to your kids, but it's never going to be fun because there's a whole bunch of crappy stuff out there that tastes really good.
Yeah.
And you have to know that feeling better, and it's not even like, it's not being skinny. It's not I don't know, like the biggest part of it is that you feel better.
Yeah.
I think when you eat bad, it brings you down. It changes your mood. It changes your. I just heard a study the other day that was done that people that eat processed food actually burn less calories than people who don't.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy to think, like, the way you eat factors into so many different things.
Yeah.
I think with, when you're overweight or sometimes just your diet can change, behavioral problems or health issues,
Yeah.
like there's a million things. So you really have to make that a priority. And I think explain to your kids why those foods are bad, these foods are good. Yes, it's okay to have that once in a while, but don't make it your everyday.
Well, and especially when I was, I keep going back to when I was younger, but when I was younger, it felt good in the moment to eat the food that tastes good.
Yeah.
It's always going to feel good in the moment. Oh my gosh, this is so good. This cake tastes delicious. Or, oh my gosh, this is so good. I could eat, 16 of these sliders from White Castle or something like that. And that's one of the things.
And when you're done, your problems are still there.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, they've gotten worse.
Yeah.
It's gonna, when you're done, your stomach might start aching, or now you've got to get back to doing whatever tasks you were doing. It's just, it feels like a brick in your stomach, and it really brings down your whole mentality. And that's also if you're bigger and you're trying to work out, it might be a little bit different than if you're more fit and you're working out. I know now when I'm swimming, it feels different than when I first started swimming and I was at my lowest point. I weighed however much I weighed. And it's just, you just got to go day by day, And I think one of the bigger things too is a lot of people have that ego when you're working out that, oh, I'm going to start off with these 20-pound weights and I'm going to rack these off. And sometimes that's good that you're setting high standards for yourself, but...
Well, and to that point, I think that a lot of times people think, I don't have time for a full workout, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you right now, going for a walk around the block is better than doing nothing at all.
Anything, yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing is that if you, people start out and they're like, well, I want to run 3 miles. Well, you can't start there,
No.
A. And B, like, you need to ease into it, and something's better than nothing, and you got to start somewhere. Just start,
Yeah.
just start doing it. Start somewhere, and then once you're doing it, you work your way up, But, the biggest thing is something's better than nothing, Going for a walk around the block, if you can't do your full workout, is better than not doing anything.
Skipping
and
the whole
sitting
thing.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, and and I think my biggest thing in middle school, we had our strength and conditioning class, and I was watching all the football players put 2 plates on their bars, and I would feel terrible when I couldn't even get a single plate on it. And it's just kind of, especially with social media and stuff like that today, you can see how fit these people are, and like it does give you that motivation, but at the same time it can bring you down if you don't have the same body positivity that they probably have, or you're looking at people with 6-pack abs and you're like, man, I want those. And sure, that could push you, but sometimes it can bring you down,
Well, yeah, that's a really good point, because I think that looking at some of these people, you think, A, what goes into that, and B, you say there's your body type, there's what goes into that. Are you willing to put into that what they do? So I think that can be a motivator, but it shouldn't get you down to where you don't want to do it anymore when you don't reach that. Just keep going, keep pushing. My arms have always been my least favorite part of my body, and lifting weights in these last few months, which I really have never done in my life, I'm starting to love my arms.
Yeah.
But it's a very slow process.
Oh, for
and
sure.
it's so I think that it's just woken me up to the fact that it takes time. Don't give up, and just keep going. Just keep going, and you see the results.
Yeah. And And I think that's also another thing that a lot of people don't realize, the time part of it. It's really when you're first starting to work out, you're going to have to work on your endurance. Eventually you'll be able to lift 20s and do 10 in a row, bicep curls or whatever. But you've got to get that endurance, that stamina of doing 20 or 30 with the fives at first, and a lot of times I see people not doing the proper technique. Even me as
a... Always remember, we're not doing a fitness video right now. We're just talking about how to make it fun for your kids, right?
Yeah.
I feel like we're going too much into...
Yeah. Well, and that could be if you're just... I don't know how to segue into that. If you're swimming with your kids, if you're doing just sure. Like she used to take me to the pool in Arizona, or my grandma would take me to the pool in Arizona, and I would have so much fun doing that. And if we hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have found out how much I love swimming.
Yeah.
And you were really the one that pushed me to start swim. You saw that little...
We've always had the mantra that you can do whatever you want, but you're not quitting halfway through.
Yeah.
Like, you have to, whatever you start, you see through to the end. Yeah. And I think that's really important. And I think, so when he was going to start swim, he was wasn't sure about it. And I said, you do whatever you want, but just know if you start it, you're going to see it through to the end. And he loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, and... I'm glad even with other sports, like when you made me do that with soccer or with football, for sure. Football, towards the end of it, I know I wasn't really enjoying it, but it definitely woke me up to the mentality of a workout and stuff like that. And
well, and I just a little note on speaking of the football, like Billy hadn't really done a whole lot of sports before football, and it was Pop Warner football. It was intense.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the parents telling me that their son had said how much Billy inspires them, and he said, why? And the little boy said, can I say it? Billy cries all practice long, but he never stops.
No.
He doesn't leave the field. So clearly he hates this, but he's not quitting. And he's seen it through to the end. And so he was like, all the guys on the football team talk about how inspiring Billy is. And I thought about that, and I'm like, that is pretty cool. Like, you got to push through. And I think ultimately you end up liking football, but not necessarily football, but the friends and things you made.
Yeah.
But and he definitely got a good workout and all of it. But it's you have to try. You have to push yourself. That's huge. Sometimes you might not want to do it, but you might feel great in the end. And then there's other days where I work out and I feel as crappy as when I started. So it's not always one way or the other, but I think just pushing, whether you want to or not, is huge. And that is something your kids will see too.
Well, and I also think that putting me into all those sports, especially football. Football is what I remember most from when I was younger. So bringing up football again, I did make quite a few friends through football. Steven.
Shout out.
All those kids through football I made friends with and hung out with. And that's also a good thing to do as well. If you get your kid into a sport, they don't have to enjoy the sport itself, but if they're making friends, they can still enjoy going there and talking to them and stuff like that. And that was a big thing too.
It doesn't always. It obviously, competition and things are a big part of it. But sometimes when you put so much emphasis on the competition side, it makes it not fun. And I think the biggest takeaway from all this is when things are fun, you're going to want to do it more.
Yeah.
And then along the way, you'll see that I feel better. You'll see those things, but I think initially it has to be something fun. It can't be like you need to work out because it's good for your heart. Well, no kid's gonna care about that.
Yeah.
So just make it fun.
Yeah, and it's kind of that family mentality again, where you all are going through this sport together. So why not get closer together and power through this like you would as a family? I remember after football when we had moved here and Dad hadn't quite moved here yet. we were doing workouts at his house because he lived out in the middle of nowhere. And we all were struggling because all of us were at our lowest point. He had just came back from the military, so he was sitting around not doing anything at Mammy's house and was gaining weight. And so all three of us had to get together and work out. And that was another one of my motivational things where as a kid, you look up to your parents so much. And seeing them go through this pain with you makes you realize that I realize he's not as invincible as I think he is, which never wrong with that, but it's good to know that he's got his troubles and stuff too. And it also helped me realize that even the strongest of people, they kind of go two and two, but even the strongest of people have their pains. And so you look at a guy that's been weightlifting for years and he's doing these insane workouts and it looks like he's doing all right, but if you ask him about it, he might have been struggling that day. And so if he helps you with your workouts and he sees you're struggling and it just kind of goes two and two, I'm just trying to create an example. It's just good to have a motivation person. You've got Shalene as a good motivation.
Yeah, you have to find someone that you admire, and I think probably for a lot of reasons that you admire them. And then, maybe they have the same build as you, maybe they have the same beliefs as you, maybe they have the body you want, but be realistic with that side of it. But find a motivator, and that will push you. And the same thing for your kids,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we're probably getting to that time.
Yep.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us, and make sure you go to our YouTube page and subscribe.
We will make sure it is past Christmas time now. I'm sure we'll get some angry comments about that. We will make sure to take down this Christmas tree soon.
But not before our next episode.
Yeah, not before the next episode, and we'll probably keep the lights up just for a little while. Probably forever. But thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you later.
All right.